ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 56 तत्सत्यं यत्त्रिकालेष्वनुपहतमदः प्राणदिग्व्योममुख्यं यस्मिन् विश्रान्तमास्ते तदिह निगदितं ब्रह्म सत्यस्य सत्यं नास्त्यन्यकिञ्च यद्वत्परमधिकमतो नाम सत्यस्य सत्यं सच्चत्यच्चेति मूर्ताद्युपहितमवरं सत्यमस्यापि सत्यम्. A play on words. Nice play on words, especially one word. What is that word? Satyam. So if we had to summarize this verse in one sentence, it would be, will the real Satyam please stand up and make itself known? Because this is a word that makes up, as we have seen, that makes up the bulk of Vedanta Shastra, Satyam, but it is one that is rarely and barely understood. So 56 and 57, these two verses go together, and we will take them one by one, of course, but just to show you that there is a continuity there, and they are dealing with what is this Satyam, because it is a logical corollary from our last discussion. Very what is that called? Very Vistarita means detailed discussion on verse 55, which where the women of knowledge, the saintesses from the Rig Veda, schooled the men about Advaita and about transcending gender, etc. And then it ended on the note that the one who recognizes this, that is the one who is Brahman, and that person who recognizes that there is no difference between men, women, etc., all these distinctions that are available for objectification do not really exist. So then that is where it concluded. That brings us to the question, so what really does exist? What is real? That is very important to understand. So what is this Brahman? What is real? And then if we look at the Taittiriya Upanishad, the definition of Brahman is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Satyam is the first word, meaning that which exists. Sat means, Sattayam, that in the sense of that which exists. So then, so many things exist. So what is it so special about this Brahman? No, all things exist, but they exist because they draw their existence from Brahman. We have seen that, and this is going to be pointed out here through the word play on the word Satyam, through a little play on the word Satyam. So Tat Satyam, that indeed is real. Satyam here, Satyam, again the word has many meanings. It could mean truth, it could mean, real, but here it means real. Truth also means real only, but truth we use the meaning of the word Satyam as truth, we use more colloquially. And it's like, really, when you say, oh, there is free ice cream being given around the corner, and you say, really, Satyametam, is this true? So that means also it is real, in a way. So here it means that which is real. Tat Satyam, that indeed is real. And what is real? That which exists is real. What kind of an existence? An existence that is not an iffy existence, an existence that does not come to an end. That is what is real. That's why everybody wants the real thing in life. Actually, they want Satyam. But sadly, they settle for Coca-Cola, which is which is advertised as the real thing. This is what happens sadly, because that what is that real is not known, and so they fall prey to these advertising gimmicks. And all the capitalists, these advertisers, companies, corporations have studied enough Vedanta to be able to fool people. And Apple is at the head of this fooling business. Why? Because everything starts with I. That is why. iMac. And then what else? iPod, iPhone. And that I is a small, ubiquitous, small I, because it's not wanting to take over you, but then it is taking over you without really telling that it is taking over you. And then iPad, without which I mad. And this is basically, this is how they have a little smattering of Vedanta. Smattering means just a kind of an erzast understanding, like a little false little understanding. And then they peddle their wares with such finesse that you are nowhere after coming onto their spell. So Satyam means, it should be there forever. It should be there forever, because that is what one wants in life. One doesn't want a thing for its own sake. One wants a thing because one thinks that it is there forever. And so starts the sad, what is that called? The really sad exercise of making the finite into infinite. And it is very time consuming. It keeps people busy all the time. And then, making the finite infinite becomes a very, very, very big enterprise. So the whole life goes in that. Everybody is at it. The geologist wants a little fossil named after herself or himself. And by the time the geologist gets that accolade, the geologist himself or herself has become a fossil that old, because after discovering all this, and the poet wants the work to outlast him or her. That is the effort, starting from time immemorial. You look at one of Shakespeare's sonnets. The way it ends is so clever and amazing. As long as men can see and eyes can read. One sonnet says, a famous sonnet ends like this. What about women? We already dealt with them in verse 55, so don't press it, okay? Yeah, done. So this fellow was writing in 14th century, okay? So 15th century, wherever, whatever. So as long as men can see and eyes, the women are there, because eyes can apply to women also. Eyes can read. So long lives this, meaning this sonnet, and this gives life to thee. Very cleverly put. He's writing about some person he admired. And, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? No, that's not enough, because summer is short-lived. And the buds, whatever buds are there, they don't have life, because they all die away. they blossom too quickly. And summer is fleeting. I mean, remember, this is England, okay? Yeah, summer is fleeting because everything gets clouded very quickly, and including the judgment. But that's not just for England. That's for everywhere else as well. So, along with the weather, whether I am Brahman or not, that doubt also starts to come, and then so long, so he's writing for somebody he admires, some person he admires, and then he wants that person to be immortal. You see, this is how it is, making the finite into infinite. And then so he says, okay, I can't, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Nah, summer is not a good comparison, because you are much better than the summer, and you are always sunny, unlike the summer, and you are always, blossoming, and you make my heart blossom, etc., etc. In the sonnet, at the line 13 and 14, very clever. Says, okay, and as long as people can read, as long as eyes can see, so long lives this. This means what? This sonnet, this poem. And this will keep on making you, the subject matter of this sonnet, alive. So, in a way, he has immortalized not only this person, but his own sonnet as well. And so, therefore, what? So, this is the attempt. The whole life is wasted because one wants to leave a mark. And if nothing, at least one wants to have very, very clever offspring, so that they will continue as an extension of you. And as soon as you make that sankalpa, what will happen? What will happen is very, very clear, because they will have their own ideas and they will not oblige. They will not oblige at all. Okay, so like this, the whole life is gone without knowing what Satyam is. And so, therefore, it is incumbent to, in order to drop the, not even to drop, it's not a conscious dropping, it is more of when you know the truth, things automatically start to loosen. The hold of the objects upon oneself, the subjects, starts to loosen when the reality is understood with clarity. The more the clarity, the more all these things just start to lose their luster. They become lackluster, and that is what needs to happen, is to be in Satyam. The person who is with oneself is the renunciant, is the sannyasi, and is the one that gains this clarity about oneself, which is why we are studying all this. So therefore, then tat satyam. So what is satyam? That is satyam yat which trikaleshu anupahatah anupahatam. Hata, from han, to kill. Hata means killed, past passive participle. Upahata means destroyed, afflicted, injured, hurt. And then if you want to negate that, you put the particle un as a prefix. Even in English, we have the prefix un. Unkind. You see, we have that. Unkind. And so like this. So that negates upahata. Upahata, injured, afflicted. So anupahata means what? Very easy. Unafflicted, unaffected, uninjured, uncompromised, unhurt. Okay? Tat satyam yat anupahatam. That which is unaffected. When? Once in a while? Kabhi kabhi? No. All the time. Trikaleshu anupahatah. In all three periods of time, whether you're talking about Sat was, Sat is, Sat will be, doesn't matter. All the time, in all places, under all circumstances, this Sat is Sat alone. Ayyo, I thought we were talking about Satyam. Same thing, okay? Yeah, Sat, Satyam, same. So, this is something which is very nice to hear and understand. Even listening to the translation gives a certain sense of relief. Why? Because now I do not have the pressure to make my poetry last forever. Why? Because I am the one who lasts forever. And I don't have any such pressure to leave a mark on the world even though this body will go. Because even though the body comes and goes, I am that Satyam that doesn't come and go. And even if that is not understood, even if that is little far away, that there is such a thing that doesn't come and go, thank God. There is a relief. Why is that relief there? Because that is the quest of the human being. Everybody wants Satyam. When? Yesterday. And for how long does one want Satyam? All the time. For breakfast, lunch and dinner, one doesn't get bored of Satyam. Why? Because it is you. You are never tired of you. Even if the person says, I'm sick of myself, that myself usually is located in the mind. It is the I with reference to the body. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this chronic illness. This is the I with reference to the body. I'm sick of myself. This is the I with reference to the antakarana, the mind, the emotions, I'm such an idiot. I'm just so forgetful. This is I with reference to the Shakti of remembering, smriti, memory, buddhi, ahankara. So, but if somebody was told that you are okay, that person will never want to stop living or give up the life. If one were to understand this, then one is not sick of oneself ever. One is permanently in love with oneself. And that self is Brahman, that self is Bhagavan. It is a total love affair, but a love affair gone wrong. Why? Because the sadhana for gaining the object, quote unquote, the object of desire is not understood. That is the metaphor of this Greek deity. There is one devata in ancient Greece, Narcissus. And he had a curse placed upon him. He did some bad things. I don't know what he did. And he fell in love. He would fall in love and then just abandon the people he loved, the women he loved. So I think one of the goddesses or somebody put a curse on him. May you fall in love with yourself and injure yourself. And so that's what happened. He was mad after himself, which he mistook to be his own reflection in a lake, etc. And so he would just gaze longingly upon himself. And there was a split, because that which he saw, he did not identify with himself. Dvaita. Dvaitat hi bhayam bhavati shokam bhavati. And he would try to embrace the reflection because he wanted to become one with his own reflection. And then instead he would just get completely drenched in water. He would just embrace the water, not the object of his delight, not the object of his love. This is the narcissus, this god from which the disease, personality disorder called narcissism has come. A person who is completely obsessed with oneself to the detriment of seeing anyone else and using everybody for the fulfillment of their own desires. But back to this Greek personage. It is a wonderful metaphor, because in a way everybody till they encounter Vedanta is like Narcissus, in love with some objectifiable aspect of oneself which one is unable to gain, and dies away pining for this life after life after life. Anything that one falls in love with is finite, starting with the body, with one's own body, mind, senses, starting with other bodies, minds and senses, starting with the five elements in the universe. Any which way you look at it, everything is finite. And so the quest continues. And instead of seeking the infinite, one becomes an infinite seeker. Not a nice thing. A small but a very big difference. A small difference in terms of the placement of the words, but a big difference. A huge difference. It makes an infinite difference to understand the infinite properly. Instead of being an infinite seeker, one has to transform oneself to be the seeker of the infinite. This is what the Kenopanishad advises. Ihaiva ched avedit atha satyam asti na chediha avedin mahati vinashtihi. If one gains this understanding right here in this body, in this life, that what we are studying here, ekam sat, there is this thing called sat, which is non-dual, which is one, which is anupahataha, anupahatam, not really afflicted by anything, because there is nothing else other than itself. And that which is the same in all three periods of time, it is unchanging and non-negatable. Both the definitions of Sat are beautifully covered in one quarter of the whole mantra, one half of the first line. Very ingeniously covered. And so this is indeed the Sat. And if one knows in this lifetime, says the Kenopanishad, one is indeed blessed. Atha satyam asti. Everything becomes real, the quest becomes real, the life becomes purposeful, and one is finally one with the object of the quest, which is indeed the subject. That is not subject to objectification. Then the Upanishad likes to play with us, because there will always be half the people who are reading the Upanishad will have a question which usually toddlers have. If I don't do this, what will happen? The mother says, it is time for you to go to bed. If I don't go to bed, what will you do? And so even though one is no longer toddling, the question is there in the inner toddler's mind. Because pursuit of Satyam it appears inconvenient because of the old habits. Old habits, they say, die hard. In fact, sometimes they don't die at all. And, and the person gives up the life along with the habit, which travels, free of excess baggage, because in the plane of the subtle body, pun intended, okay, plane of the subtle body, the habits travel, and next time also the same thing, excavating the finite in order to turn it into infinite. So for such mandus, for such people, there is the Upanishadic expression in the second line, what will happen if you don't do this? If you don't make this quest a priority in life, what will happen? And the Upanishad simply says the loss of the infinite is indeed an infinite loss. It's an infinite loss because somehow the placement of the word infinite has got displaced onto the quest, has been transferred onto the quest rather than the object of the quest. Your sadhana becomes infinite, and whereas the sadhya is what is infinite, the sadhya means the end. The end is infinite, and that end is you, with knowing which you understand you never come to an end. But instead, because of the wrong prioritization and the seeking outside all the time for that which is centered on you, what happens? The infinite becomes sadhana. Infinitely one is seeking. Sadhana means. Infinitely one is pining like Narcissus. Infinitely one is seeking. And then infinitely one has a support group of other seekers who are similarly disappointed. And then one sits and sings some sad songs. Darshan kab doge? Well, are you going to give me darshan? Bhagavan says, I think I must have made you deaf because I am speaking to you all the time. I am talking to you all the time. And I am telling you to attend Vedanta classes. Bhagavan did not say that, I am saying that. I am telling you to attend Vedanta classes and you are not attending. And I am telling you I am right here. And wherever, and you are looking like this, where are you? Wherever you look, that's where I am. And still this is not understood. This is what happens. And this is what is called satsang. People keep saying, please come to my satsang in my house. This is a Americanized way of saying satsang. Because what will they do, poor things? S-A-T, sat. And then S-A-N-G, sang. Satsang. So everybody sat and they sang longing songs and they went home even more longing without a sense of belonging, and the story of this kind of a life would have continued. Yeah, had we not encountered verse 56. Abba, thank God. So Satyam is that which has two definitions, which is unchanging in all three periods of time, and it is unchanging. Why? Because it is non-negatable. So the word non-negatable is expressed in anupahatam, and then the word unchanging is expressed in the expression trikaleshu. Very beautifully succinctly put both the definitions in half, in a quarter of a shloka. Very well done. Adaha, now see, very interesting. Satyam has undergone an gender change, gender bender, which is very, very nice in Vedanta, because tat satyam neuter, anupahatam, all, neuter. Like phalam, phale, phalani, like this, So satyam, trikaleshu anupahatam, and then suddenly adaha, masculine. So this idam shabdasya, masculine version, adaha. We have heard this term adaha. I wonder where. Where have we heard? Any guesses? Adaha. Anywhere? Anybody? Ah, yeah. Every time you attend the class, Shanti Mantra. Om Purnamadaha Adaha. No, but there it is Madaha. Yeah. It sounds like Madaha, but it's Purnam plus Adaha. Little bit of Sanskrit you should know. Thoda bahut, not a lot, but little bit you should know. Otherwise, we'll be looking in the dictionary for Madaha, and then again, when we study the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Masanga Shastrena, because it is Asanga Shastrena, but the word that comes before is and then so Masanga Shastrena. And then we'll also be looking for meanings of so Arjuna, Cha Arjuna, all these things. We'll be wondering how many Arjunas are there. So little bit of Sanskrit is nice. So Purnam Adaha. Adaha means that. Adaha, Purnam, Adas, Adas. And then Purna. So that is Purna. And that is whole. And what is this here? Adaha. This is Brahman. This Satyam is being now transformed into Bhagavan. And why is it Bhagavan? It is Bhagavan because the first quarter of the shloka was giving the intrinsic definition of Satyam, the invariable definition, called Swarupa Lakshana. Lakshana means definition because it is not Vachyartha, it is not a literal definition. Vachyartha means literal definition. It is more a definition by indication. Why does it have to be indication? Because a literal definition is not possible. Why is a literal definition not possible? A literal definition is only possible for objects that you can objectify. Satyam cannot be an object, it cannot be an objectified because it is simply you. So the literal definition for the word Satyam is thereby negated. Ayyo, then how will I know? Poor thing, no Satyam possible. It cannot be defined. I cannot understand Satyam. What a travesty. Here I came to Vedanta with great difficulty, thinking I will understand Satyam, and no Satyam because it doesn't have a definition. Let us chant Purnamadaha, Purnamidam. So, then, before we do that, we have to understand one small thing, that Satyam need not be defined as an object. Why? Swatas siddhatvat, because it is self-evident. Because it is self-evident, it does not need to be defined as an object. Self-evident means what? It becomes the answer to the question, are you existent? Yes. Are you here? Of course I am here. Who corroborates your existence? Nobody. Nobody need to certify my existence. And if I am looking for somebody to certify my existence, I should be immediately certified by the mental health faculties. This is what is very, everybody knows this. Aham iti sakshat sakshi rupena bhasate. Beautiful. Viveka Chudamani says, that which does not shut up and that which keeps on advertising itself as I, and which shines as the witness of all states of the body, mind, sense complex within and everything else without. Asti kinchit. There is something. The Viveka Chudamani, the student, is told, Param Nityam, that which is beyond everything, that which is non-negatable, Nityam, that which is there always. Aham pratyaya lambanaha, that which, the only way to know this is to understand that it expresses itself through the word I. Asti kinchit swayam nityam aham pratyaya lambanaha. It is aham pratyaya lambanaha. Pratyaya, cognition here, not prefix. That which expresses itself in the form of I cognition. I. Avasthatraya sakshi san panchakosha vilakshanaha. It is indeed even the observer, the witness of the three states of being. Sleep, what else is there? Sleep and sleep. No. Sleep, dream, and then once in a while waking. These states. That which is the witness of these states. Even the sleep state, you are the witness. Of course, in hindsight, because the mode of expression has, the mind is one with Bhagavan. Bhagavan is controlling the mode of expression. It has returned to a causal form. So you cannot really say, I am enjoying a very nice sleep while asleep. Later on you say that. So avasthatraya sakshi san, being the witness of the three states, panchakosha vilakshanaha. Vilakshanaha means that which stands out, which is not part and parcel of what? The five koshas. What are these koshas? If you look at the English translation, sometimes these translations are very funny. If you look at the English translation, it is translated as sheath, like that in which you put a sword and take it out. And so they keep translating it like food sheath, annamaya kosha. Then pranamaya kosha, breath sheath, food sheath. And then what else? Manomaya kosha, mind sheath. Vijnanamaya kosha, they don't understand Vijnana means do worship. They think it is knowledge sheath. Anandamaya kosha, bliss sheath, capital B. Okay, and so this is even more confusing. First of all, the word Sanskrit we don't know the word kosha, and then the kosha is then defined as sheath or described as sheath. Kosha, more appropriately, is a locus of error, a place where a mistake is committed. And in Sanskrit, the reason why it got this horrible name, sheath, is because in Sanskrit the word kosha, koshavat achhadakatvat koshaha. Achhadakatvat means that which covers as though. See, because we are Vedantins, our last name is as though. Everything that we talk about is as though. And so we have to add as though everywhere. Okay? And it makes a big difference. If you don't add as though in that which covers, then it becomes a sheath. Then you think, oh, now the mind is enclosed in something, and then, it's like those Russian dolls. And then you open one, and then you think, oh, what is inside? Another doll. Then you open another, then open that doll. Then in there is also dollantaram. Antaram means another doll. And then dollantaram, and then tiny one. Then you say, oh, this cannot be opened any further. There also there is one more dollantaram. And then finally there is one stick figure. Okay. And so kosha is not like that. Kosha is simply a place of wrong identification, because of which a mistake is committed. Nay, many mistakes are committed. It's mistakes galore from start to finish. Actually, I shouldn't say finish, because the quest is not finished. From the beginning to another beginning, it's a series of mistakes. Another beginning means next life. Series of mistakes. So, kosha. So, panchakosha vilakshanaha. So the first kosha, panchakoshas, 5 koshas are there. And then, there used to be one elderly Swami, known to Pujya Swamiji for a long time. And he was in his 90s. He used to live in Rishikesh. Very active, wonderful person. And he used to, being elderly, he used to get chilled very often. So if a wind blew a little bit harder, and of course the ashram being on the banks of the Ganga, the weather was always a little bit varied. And so if the wind blew this way or that way a little bit, he would immediately wear a series of sweaters, mufflers, scarves, everything. And Pujya Swamiji on his walk would encounter him and say, "Here is Swami Panchakoshananda," meaning he would wear 5 sweaters, 5, t-shirts, anything. So his name got changed to Panchakoshananda because Swamiji would joke with him. And so, like this, it is not like a sweater you wear and you take off. Because it is an as though place, a trap. Kosha is a trap of wrong identification. So one is food. You mean I think I am the food? No. You think you are a vikara of the food, that is the body. Okay? Annamaya vikara. You are a modification of the food, which is why you identify with the body. I am this much tall. Oh no, my weight has increased. Oh no, I need to put on more weight. Whatever the case may be. And then all these things, I am deaf, I am lame. All these things, and even one identifies by diseases. I am dyslexic. I am diabetic. You are not diabetic, you are Satyam. Come on, but this is what is the problem with the kosha. The identification, the wrong place of error, place of wrong identification. Then manomaya kosha, pranamaya kosha. I am as good as my breath. And then manomaya kosha, I am as good as my mind. Vijnanamaya kosha, I am the doer, kartritva buddhi. And then the doership, identification with the doership. And then Anandamaya kosha, the identification with oneself as the reaper of the results of action, especially good actions. And so punya. And so therefore this Anandamaya kosha, all these koshas, but the Satyam that we are talking about is separate from all these koshas, where it is very easy to fall into a trap and make an error. And so, since the trap is as though, thank God, it can be as though removed with the as though study of as though Vedanta. Okay, so this is how one extricates oneself from the wrong identification. And so here, this Sat now is which is immediately understood and available as the truth of the body mind sense complex, as the truth of the 3 states of being, as the truth of oneself, is being transformed into Bhagavan. Why? Because the Sat is this Sat is seen from 2 standpoints. One is called Swarupa Lakshana, as indicatory words like Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, etc. That which exists, that which is all knowledge. Why is it all knowledge? Because you can never deny yourself. And even when you say you don't know something, you know that you don't know. So you are all knowledge, you are this Sat. And you are infinite, you are limitless. And so this Sat, is understood as the truth of the body mind sense complex. But the teaching is incomplete without understanding Sat from another standpoint as the cause of this entire universe. So this Sat is the cause of the whole universe. The whole universe has come from this Sat alone. Actually nothing has come, okay, and nothing is going anywhere. But from the standpoint of what is objectifiable, everything that we see, everything that we hear, everything that we can touch. So we say that this variegated and manifest universe is very much, very much come from this Sat, and Sat plus Maya Shakti, which makes Sat into Bhagavan. Bhagavan is indeed this Sat alone. And then what happens? Then how is that talked about here? then it is said here, the yeah, pranadig vyoma mukhyam yasmin vishrantam aste. Prana, the source of life. Here, not just respiration. All that on upon which this life depends. All the it includes respiration, digestion, everything. The whole life force. Prana here. Dik here means directions, which is a metaphor for space. But then we have one more word, Vyoman. Vyoma also means space. So since it is doubled here, we cannot accuse the Satasloki of redundancy. So we say the other one will take as time. Time. So that in which Yasmin Vishrantam aste, gain refuge, gain resolution. What? The life force, the directions, space, time, everything, all things, because space and time come before all the beings and all the things, insentient, etc. And the bodies of the sentient beings, all that. Before that, space and time are the first to come. So the life force, space and time, mukhyam, these three, the main ones, are gaining resolution. So if they gain resolution, that means they have come from that also. See, in the Taittiriya Upanishad, the second chapter is all about the Swarupa Lakshana, the indicatory words, Satyam, which is all knowledge, Jnanam, which is infinite, limitless, Anantam, is unfolded. In the third section, third chapter, this Brahman with the form and function of Bhagavan is unfolded. That knowledge is unfolded. Bhrigurvai varunihi varunam pitaram upasasara. Bhriguhu, the son of Varuna, okay, Varunihi, and so went to his father. What was his father's name? What was his father's name? Yes, Varuna. Okay, yeah. So, approached Varuna, his own father, Upasasara, approached and said, Adhihi Bhagavo Brahma. Please teach me about this Brahman, O revered sir, please teach me. And then Varuna said, Yato va imani bhutani jayante. Yataha, yasmat karanat, from which causeless cause. Imani bhutani, all the elements and elementals are born. Jayante. Yena jatani, by which force, by whose will everything that is born is sustained. And then yat prayanti abhisamvishanti. Abhisamvishanti means in which everything resolves. How to understand this? Because what has come is not on a same par with what is the cause. The cause is Satyam, and here in verse 56 described as Trikaleshu Anupahatam. So that cause, unafflicted or the same at all times, has given birth to quote unquote this effect, and this effect is not on a par with that cause. Why? Because that which has come is as though it's a projection, like how like even your dream. In the dream you give yourself a body, As the dreamer, you are still separate, but you have given yourself a body. And then you are dreaming of hiking in nature along with a few vaccinated friends, okay, if belonging to the same family. Yeah, because the example has to be pandemic appropriate, pandemic certified. It has to follow, the dream also has to follow COVID regulations, otherwise it will become a nightmare. Yeah, it won't be a dream. So within your own household, you're going for a nice walk in nature, outdoors. COVID is indoors, you are outdoors, and then you are enjoying the hike. You have given yourself a body. And what about your family and your people in your household? They also, you have given them a body. And then you have a mind, you have given yourself a mind. They also have minds. And then what about the flora? Trees. Oh, is that a fox that just bounded into the bushes? Yes, looks like they're too bad. I did not have my camera out. I could have taken a photograph, says the other. That fox was, of course, very foxy, and all you saw is a nice orange brush of a tail, and then it was gone. And then you and then you trained the binoculars to see if you could see some bird or something like that. And then what you thought was a bird was just a suggestive branch of a tree shaped like a bird. So like this, all this, you're enjoying the walk, you're trying to see things and all these things. The fox, the tree, the birds and insects, the sun, and if there is a creek flowing, the beautiful babbling creek. All this is what? You. You. And the raw material for the dream, where did it come from? Your own memory, your own desires. That is the ingredient. And when you unpack, that's the ingredient of the dream. When you unpack the term memory, it resolves into knowledge. Because what you remember is what you know. You can't remember something that you don't know, and you can't dream something that you do not know of. Beautiful. That's why I say that some of these poets must have studied Vedanta. We find this in the Waste Land, a poem by T.S. Eliot. In fact, there is a controversy about this poem. Beautiful, brilliant poem. There's a controversy that his wife, Vivian Eliot, was the real author of this poem, but then she was in a mental institution, so nobody knows. And whether that is what sent her to the mental institution, the appropriation of this poetry and whatever stress of the marriage. But that is not the point, that is not the topic of this of Satasloki. So back to the poem. There he says, he or she, we don't know, says that April is the cruelest month, bringing lilacs out of the dead land. Dead land means it was dead in the winter. Springing memory and desire, stirring dull roots in the spring rain. Very interesting. So there also memory and desire, he uses these terms. And so here also in the dream, memory and desire effortlessly become a 3D technicolor dream. Complete. There is nothing lacking. The whole dream world is complete. You are the projector, you are also the participant. Very interesting. You are the participant not just because you have given yourself a body, but you have given your being to everything that is there in the dream. Then what happens? Alas, the alarm rings and the dream goes back unto you from where it came. Neatly wrapped up. And so much so as though it wasn't even there, because many times when you wake up, you don't even recall the dream. You have some hazy, oh, I was with some green somewhere. Oh, interesting. But you don't remember it fully. So neatly it has been packed up. And so these three functions of projection, sustaining for whatever the time of the dream is. Sometimes you think I have been dreaming forever, but the sleep doctor will tell you that the dream was only 4 or 5 seconds. Very interesting. So so time is there in the dream, space is there in the dream, people are there in the dream. Your own knowledge, your own desire brings forth this dream universe that you give birth to, you sustain, and you withdraw unto yourself without a trace. Now that this is understood, apply it to the Jagat. Then you get the definition of Bhagavan. The whole entire Jagat. Oh, so I am a dream of Ishvara? Well, in a way, because the dream example is, is totally pratibhasika. Pratibhasika means it's totally an internal projection. But Bhagavan's projection has a certain truth to it, because it can be objectified unlike the dream. But it cannot be affirmed, neither can it be denied. It is vyavaharika. It has certain transactability, unlike your dream. Oh, but in the dream I won the lottery. Yes, but that lottery win doesn't have a transaction, does it? Because with that lottery money you cannot buy something here in the waking state. So, the dream is a completely, totally subjective example of your personal desires, your personal knowledge and memory blossoming forth into a dream universe of people, flora, fauna, etc. And then the Jagat is a vyavaharika manifestation, a projection that in which there is a certain grossification. As we are seeing, those of you who are following Chandogya Upanishad, there is a certain grossification, meaning it's not all subtle. The dream is completely subtle, completely subjective. Here it is gross. You can hold something, you can break something, you can eat something, you can interact with someone. All that is there. So it has a certain transactability. So you cannot say this Jagat is a dream of Ishvara and be correct about it. That would not be right. So the dream example is just to show the projection and the taking back and the sustaining. That's all the dream example achieves. So now that this dream example is understood, you can see that Ishvara also effortlessly, based on one's own karma, the collective karma of the universe, brings forth, so to speak, manifests a universe, sustains the universe and takes it back. This is what is called Tatastha Lakshana, a temporary definition by which Brahman or Satyam is understood. Why? The Jagat is very temporary. We know this by the definition of the Jagat itself. Jayate gacchati iti Jagat. That which is born, which is gone. And born, gone. In Sanskrit we could make up words like this. Ja for jayate, ga for gacchati. How to do that in English? B-O for born, G-O for gone. Bo go means Jagat. Born, gone. Okay. That is exactly how in the word itself the definition is hidden. So this Bogo came from Bhagavan. It was born of Bhagavan. And then it is sustained by Bhagavan. It goes back to Bhagavan. This Jagat. And so therefore, this is, this Bhagavatta, the Sadvastu which is now equipped with the ability to project, the ability to sustain that which has been projected, and the ability to take back, now gets a new function, a new um, status called Bhagavatta, Bhagavanhood, Bhagavanness. And that Bhagavanness is also is also a superimposition, as it were, on this Satyam Jnanam Anantam. That is also a superimposition. And then everything that is come out here, so Sat with a crown is called Bhagavan. So that is the second definition. Now the definition of Sat is complete, because we have the intrinsic definition, that which never changes, which is ever the same, and that which is not affected by anything, because it being the only thing. And then we have the definition agamapayi, the coming and going definition, a temporary definition. And what is the temporary definition? The provisional definition here is that which sustains the universe, projects the universe, takes back the universe. And this is the Bhagavan, and this Bhagavanness, the ability, is also a gift from Maya, and then that Maya is also an as though Shakti. And so both these definitions are important for Vedanta. Why? We will see next time. In the next line it will be evident. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you, Amma.